Okay, ready. Okay, so it's my pleasure to host this roundtable on co-model and HyFlex teaching. I have to confess that as the director of pedagogical transformation at INSECU, I enjoyed completely the day, and I'm looking forward to our new discussion about co-model and HyFlex. With our focus, we have decided that we're going to tackle the three main issues of co-model HyFlex. The first one is about to which extent is it a new version of teaching? Is it temporary because of the pandemic, or is it going to become a new educational standards? The second question we're going to try to answer to is how you can ensure the quality experience of the students in the room and online, because you have these two modalities to manage, and that's sometimes very complex to do. And the last questions we would love to answer is, of course, about the teacher. How does it change the way you teach before the class? How do you prepare your course? Does it change the way you interact? Does it change the way you interact with the students afterwards? Basically, which skills are required from teachers to be very good at co-model and HyFlex teaching? So in order to answer those three main issues, we'll have 4 presentations from both academics and more, let's say, business-oriented perspective. So it might be very interesting. And the first one would be by David Pontellier. You heard him this morning with François Tadei already. So David is a EdTech consultant for higher education. He co-founded EdTech Connection, which is a multidisciplinary collective of researchers, teachers, engineers, and so on, dedicated to innovation in higher education. And so he's going to explain us, is co-model becoming a new standards in education or not? David, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Charlotte. So let me share my screen. This is a presentation. You see it?
Yes, we can see it. You can go on.
Okay, great. So I will start the discussion on HyFlex teaching with a more general introduction to the topic, and then I would let my fellow presenters go more in depth with a case study. What I want to answer is, or start to discuss with you is, is HyFlex a temporary solution or a future standard? So first, let's start with what is HyFlex teaching. It's actually a good question because even Wikipedia doesn't have the answer. It might be because there are many terms referring to this set of practice that we call HyFlex. Here you can find several terms that we can find in the literature that are used by different teachers or universities to design to call more or less the same concept of HyFlex. For the purpose of this presentation, I will use the term HyFlex. That seems to be the most widely used and accepted, but co-modal is very used to, and HyFlex comes from the construction of hybrid and flexible. So how does it work concretely, and what is it? As a picture is worth 1,000 words, let's see concretely on this picture how HyFlex works. So in a HyFlex course, students can choose from one of 3 participation paths. The first path is the traditional in-classroom setting. So the students are here in the classroom, face-to-face, so traditional one. The second path is online, but live. So the students are connected to the classroom through a video conference tool like Zoom or Teams, and they can interact with the other students, with the teachers, and ask the question and in live. And the third path is fully asynchronously. So the camera and the mic record the classroom, and student can later on, after the class, have access to the classroom. So HyFlex class makes class meetings and materials available so that students can access them online or in person during or after class sessions. But all the students, regardless of the path taken, will achieve the same learning outcomes. A more formal definition given by the San Francisco State University, which is one of the pioneers in HyFlex. Explain that HyFlex courses are class stations that allow students to choose whether to attend classes face-to-face or online, synchronously or asynchronously. To give you some background, one of the pioneers of HyFlex is Dr. Brian J. Bailey from San Francisco State University. He started implementing HyFlex in 2005 in his classrooms. And if you want to learn more about HyFlex, I really recommend you this book, which is like the Bible of HyFlex teaching, with a lot of literature review, guidelines, some case study of universities that implemented HyFlex, with the challenge they face and their success, their outcomes. So you can, it's also in the reference of the slide, so you can access it if you want. How does Dr. Bailey define HyFlex teaching? He defined it as a student-directed multimodal learning experience. And to create this student-directed multimodal learning experience, he based the design of HyFlex course on 4 core values. The first one is learner choice. So the goal is to provide meaningful alternative participation mode and enable students to choose between participation modes, daily, weekly, or topically. The second value is equivalency. So the idea is to provide learning activities in all participation modes, which lead to equivalent learning outcomes. So of course, equivalency doesn't mean equity, the exact same experience, as a face-to-face class is different from an online class or an asynchronous class. So it's not the same, but it should lead to equivalent learning outcomes. All the learners will achieve the same learning outcomes, have the same assessments, the same activities, etc. The third value is the reusability. So the idea is to utilize artifacts from learning activities in each participation mode as learning object for all students. That means that basically all the material, resources, activities shared by the teacher or the students can be reused by all the participants. Even the discussion, so the chat, there is generally a chat or a forum where all the students, online and offline and asynchronous, can discuss, and it can be reused by all the students. The fourth and last value of HyFlex is the accessibility. So the idea is to equip students with technology, skills, and equitable access to all participation modes. It means that the course is not designed that for some students will come in person, some will come online. No, it's more that all the students should be able, if they want, to come online, to come in person, to consult the course asynchronously when they want, and they should have the access, the equipment, the skills, the technology to do that. So what? So that is a question I often get asked as a NetTech consultant. We've seen that HyFlex is what HyFlex is and how it works. Cool. But before implementing any given educational solutions or innovations, we need to assess its added value for the learner, educators, and the institutions. So for the second part of this presentation, and the last part, I will focus more on the potential for HyFlex to help us reach out to reach our goals and mission as educators. So there are many potential benefits I see in HyFlex teaching, but I mainly see 3 potential main outcomes for HyFlex when it is well done. The first one is to serve more students. So within the same limited physical space, HyFlex obviously can enable an increased number of students. The students that are not in face-to-face, but it can also support a more diverse student community. For example, students with disabilities or health issues or work and family commitments. It can also increase access for foreign students or adult learners that have work obligations. So basically, HyFlex can reduce barriers to enrollment and enable more students to achieve their educational goals. A second value I see is to increase student satisfaction. So giving choice and flexibility to students already demonstrates a commitment to student satisfaction, and early results in research show a strong correlation between the possibility for students to choose their mode of attendance and their satisfaction. It's very early results, so more research needs to be done, and I would be very interested to know how the other speakers perceive this student satisfaction, if in their HyFlex classes it increased or not. But it's very promising in this aspect. And the last benefit, and I will conclude with that, is obviously very relevant in the current context, is to maintain activities in case of disruption. Disruption can happen anytime, as recent history taught us: natural disaster, political or social crisis, obviously health crisis like COVID, which is probably not the last pandemic we will know in the last decade. So basically, implementing HyFlex in a university could be more than just a pedagogical innovation. It could be one of the best risk management strategy for our university. So to conclude, I will emphasize that even if HyFlex got a lot of visibility this last month because of the pandemic and schools closure, it benefits go further than emergency remote teaching. Obviously, it also meets many challenges and requires consequent investment from other stakeholders. Not everybody is ready to do it. And I would be happy to discuss it with all of you today and to see when HyFlex is relevant and more the effort. So the question stays open: is HyFlex just a temporary solution before we go back to business as usual, or could it become a new standard for education? Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. It's a very clear presentation to overall and to give an overall view of what is HyFlex and how it could make sense. So now we have a second speaker, Hida Mirzai. She's a senior lecturer at Ohio State University, and she will give us some insights about her experience in teaching HyFlex in economics in particular. Hida, are you here? Perhaps Thierry heard you might want to go first then, if you're okay with that. Thierry was supposed to be the third presentation, but if you're
yes.
I can see,
yes.
yeah.
I can share my PowerPoint and begin.
That would be wonderful. So Thierry is a full professor at University of Laval, and so he's going to share with us his experience of Commodore HyFlex in computer science department.
Oh, okay.
Can share your screen. Great.
Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, this is the last slide, I guess, but we are on the 7th slides, but we can see your presentation.
Oh, I can see it. I can see my presentation. Why?
We can see it for sure.
Yes. Okay. What slide? At first?
7th.
First?
Now we're on the last slide.
Can you show the first slide?
Okay, so you want me to share my screen?
Okay. Ok.
Thierry, si je peux me permettre, je pense que vous avez partagé votre écran. Si vous voulez la voir au milieu de votre Teams, il faudrait partager l'application de Teams, l'application PowerPoint, pardon, pour voir les diapos. Comme ça, vous allez tout voir en même temps.
Ce que j'avais sélectionné, c'est que...
Alors, je vais partager. I'm going to do it. Don't worry.
Ouais, ok.
Alors. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine. You've got your slides. You can do it.
Yes, I see.
I'll be moving the slides. Don't worry. We can go on.
Okay. I'm going to present my experience with the comodal formula. I will start with a reminder of the context before presenting the principle of the comodal formula as we use it. I will present some details on the tools used and then go back over the necessary adaptations of practices. In the 2000s, distant learning courses were still considered to be only organized around a website, but this lacked interactivity. Our experience with synchronous courses began with African Virtual University. We had set up a project to deliver our courses from Laval University, which were attended by students located in classrooms in universities in Africa. The courses were the same as in Quebec City, and thus we were able to train and graduate 160 students who obtained a bachelor degree in computer science from Laval University. This experience convinced us of the potential of the courses given in synchronous with the possibility of also taking them